Hello, my friends. Good morning, or whatever time of day it is for you. I'm Annalisa, and I welcome you to episode 16 of Let's Talk Soul to Soul. Friends, as we await the arrival of our very special guest today, Holly, all the way from Hamilton, Ontario, the Hammer. And I'm joining you from Banff, Alberta, where it appears as though Christmas morning has happened once again. A little bit of an April Fool's, perhaps, as we just take a look out the window there. New snow has fallen. You just never know in life. You never know what curveballs you're going to get. Even when you are kind of unprepared, you are kind of prepared. So I've got, oh, wonderful. Holly is here and just waiting for her to join us. Just sending an invitation, Holly. This often takes a few moments. And so for the rest of you, please feel free to add a comment. Let us know where you're from. And there, I see Holly's here. Yes. Hi, Holly.
How are you?
Great. We did it, Holly.
We did it.
Fantastic. I see you have your fireplace going.
Yes, I've also got a noisy dog
No problem.
in the background. So if you hear snoring, it's just her snoring. She's super noisy.
No problem at all. You know what? This is the joy of going live, right? We just, whatever's happening is happening.
And I try to put her in another room, but she just follows me around. So,
Yeah.
she is what she is. She's a
Absolutely.
bulldog, so she's just noisy.
Well, everyone's welcome, pets included, right? They're part of our family,
Absolutely.
part of our soul family.
Absolutely. Did you say you got snow last night?
I'll show you, Holly. You ready for this?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's like Christmas morning in April.
Nice. I
I
will take
feel,
it.
I feel like, you know what? This has been kind of a consistent thing with the last few Soul to Souls. That or when I'm going on live, I'm just panning over there because we have a little surprise.
Well, it's so beautiful too, right? Like I could show you my yard, but it's like gray Southern Ontario. There's nothing beautiful about today here.
Oh, well, you know, you're going to have those spring flowers sooner, much sooner than us.
Yes, they're already coming up.
Oh, that's
They're
awesome.
They're early.
Oh, well, Holly, you know what? It kind of sets the stage for these little surprises that happen in our lives, right? Or these unexpected events. You know, we can only plan for so much.
Yeah.
And us being live like this is not something I would have ever fathomed possible.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yes.
Here we are. And so I was just saying to anyone who's joining, welcoming you. I'm Annalisa for anyone who doesn't know me. I'll give a little bit of background before we jump in, Holly, and shine the spotlight on you.
Sounds good.
Awesome. And I invite anyone, of course, to please share comments or questions as we are having this conversation. Get yourself a nice cold or hot drink. Get comfortable, as I'm sure, Holly, you are, and me too. The intent of Let's Talk Soul to Soul, we're at episode 16 now. It is to create sacred spaces where beautiful souls can gather, where our nervous systems can find ease, can find peace, where our authentic selves can shine. That is the intent. And it allows me also to shine the light on the journeys, the missions, the lessons, of my soul sisters, soul brothers like you, Holly, in ways that are new to me, different, but familiar, in that we have so much to learn from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so blessed to cross paths with who I call trail angels, people like you who have fallen into out of the sky, parachuted in at times when I needed a little something. And you are one of those people, Holly. And so another one of those beautiful trail angels is Lori from Merkaba Health, who was on an episode of Let's Talk Soul to Soul. And she has so kindly partnered with me to offer a partnership for any health and wellness practitioner who are seeking a different way through her Merkaba Health Collective. So I'm going to include all the information in this little write-up. Holly, you will be a collaborator as well, so any links to the beautiful work you're doing will include it for our guests. Please share this conversation and these links, because we are one. And energetically, there's power here. There's power for not only individual healing, but collective healing and flourishing, because people like Holly and I, we're not just here to survive, we're here to thrive. And we're here to spark possibilities for you who are seeking that and who know that there is a better way, there is a different way, and we're in this together.
Mm-hmm.
So, Holly, Holly, I could speak forever about you. You are a passionate educator. You have found a way to combine your passion with teaching, with cooking, as well as living true and living free, which is this thread, this beautiful golden thread that has brought us together in creating your beautiful company. And the work that you're doing really comes from that. You found a springboard for your soul work. I think that is just incredible. And so this Nourish Cooking Co is an expression of that. And I really want to take a moment and honor you.
Oh, thank you.
With all of us who are here, even energetically, the courage it's taken for you to make this vision a reality, and the tenacity, the patience, the belief that this is possible, and the ripple effect that you're having, not only within your circle but beyond, Holly, because you are someone who, when I first met you in the fall, Holly, it was at a conference, at a retreat, and you shared your story in front of hundreds. I felt an immediate connection because you, with your education background, I felt we shared this belief that this was our vocation, to be an educator. And I was, as you know, with the Niagara Board for 14 years and then worked with the immigrant community. So we were in these positions of sacred trust and responsibility. Mm-hmm. And so when things changed in 2020, we had to find new springboards and ways to stay aligned. And I felt that with you, and you gave me such hope. And you know how important hope is in the life of a child. But guess what? For us adults too. Mm-hmm. And so I want to offer you this time to share a little more about your journey, your mission, your offerings, whatever is coming to your heart at this time. And I thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I remember so clearly, we met over Zoom in a group, right? Yeah. And I remember so clearly when you joined that MYM community, because your smile was contagious through the computer screen. And I was like, who is this woman who just has this smile? Like, that just lit up the page, you know. And then when I went to the conference in person and we crossed paths sort of in a doorway, and I was like, hey, and we just stood there in the doorway talking for like 15-30 minutes, and the conference was starting. We were like, oh, we got to go, but like, you know, we had this connection, which was so amazing. And we were very similar backgrounds. We lived very close in proximity to each other when you lived in Ontario, but didn't know each other then. And yeah, so it's been an interesting year. Like, I would say this past year, since September, so, you know, not the calendar year necessarily, but that conference, something strange energetically took place at that conference. And I know, like, even Sarah, who put the conference on, was feeling that on stage, right? We watched her giving her opening speech, and, you know, and watched the energy that was happening there. And but anyhow, I got very sick at that conference, like physically, and I don't normally get sick, which was very odd. I pulled it together for my speech, and I was able to deliver my my talk on stage, but came home and had more strange things. I had like physical symptoms weeks later that was abnormal, like face swelling. My whole face swelled and looked like you couldn't recognize. I looked like I had really bad Botox or something. It was awful. Hives. Like, I just had all of these weird physical symptoms that I've never experienced before. Anyhow, my business started going like this, and since I had left my job in November of 2021, I guess, my business was doing great. Like, right out of the bat, like I'm gonna show you that I can not be, you know, pinned down. I'm gonna be successful. And it was just like the universe was going, not right now. We're gonna like put the brakes on you, physically, mentally, emotionally, business wise. Everything was like screeching to a halt. And I was, you know, trying to figure out what is this about. Anyhow, it's just gone on for like the year, like almost a year of just this strange energy, and just coming out the other side now, you know, like realizing like this is actually your body going, you have to work through what you've been through. You can't just shut down anymore, right? And so how that came about for me was physical, like literally physical, debilitating back pain about 2 months ago, where I couldn't move. I actually had to call my husband to come home from work because I couldn't stand up, which have never happened to me before. I'm very physical. I do yoga and I swim and I walk, and anyhow, but it's all energy, right? And it was like stuck and needed to move. So there is a lot of like things we're still working through.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up, because I really think this is what is uniting us. Everyone has been affected in some way. And when you say to me, my smile, and that it lit up a room, and that's what my dad used to tell me, you know, back in the, you know, and it was kind of my thing, right? It's a gift. But over, you know, for a 2-year period, I was unrecognizable to myself. I'd look in the mirror and say, where are you, Annalisa? Because all my energy I was fighting systems that no longer served me or what I felt my mission was. And that outward fighting was not, I'm not a boxer. I'm an advocate. I'm assertive. And you know, to be an educator, and especially in an administrative role, which we both were, you are that way. So my body was keeping the score. My body was big time keeping the score. My migraines just, whoosh, you know, I had my Achilles, then I would tear like my hamstring. I'm like, what is going on here? But it's that moment where you say, you know what, enough. I know what's happening. And that journey, that's why I call this the soulful adventure. And, you know, I'm in the beginning stages of really trying to carve a new path for myself, but it's all about the soulful adventure, the journey in, to reclaim and reconnect with that inner source of wisdom, of light. You call it whatever you want, but it's
And I
there
think
and it's
during
proven.
during the last 3 years, for people like who made similar choices to you and I, that's all you had. Like, I
Yeah,
remember very clearly wanting to run somewhere,
yeah,
and there was nowhere to run to, so you had to go in. And the, you know, when I kept going back to my decisions and the choices I was making, and I thought a lot of times, if I just made this choice, it would just make everything a lot easier. But I just couldn't. Like, there was something physically inside me that would just not let me go down that path.
yeah.
And that was really like the honing of that intuition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why I need to have these kinds of conversations, because people need to know that, yes, there, you know, we're educators. We come from this place of we spark possibilities, curiosity, questioning, with compassion, with non-judgment. And that's what we as adults need to do when we have these little feelings that this just doesn't feel right. Let's listen.
Yeah.
And so this process of awakening to that intuition, awaken intuition, ask, what is this telling me? What is this person coming into my life? What's the message here? So that you can take inspired action as opposed to reaction.
Yeah, and I think that's been our culture
Yeah.
since we were born. It was to shove that intuition down and dampen it and tell you it's not important, and listen to this. And then, like, of course, with the rise of the internet and social media, it's just gotten way over the top, right? Like,
Yeah.
everybody online is telling you what to do and how to do it, and you should try it like this, and don't eat that, and eat this, and don't, try this diet, and don't, that's bad for you. And it's so overwhelming,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that is part of the stepping back and figuring out, like, drowning out all of the noise and just
Yeah.
figuring out inside what's the best thing for me.
Yeah. Definitely. And as I think about growing up, we didn't have these external pressures. We could just be kids back in my day in Sault Ste. Marie, and the pressure that's mounting on parents was different than what my immigrant parents experienced. It was not easy coming to Canada and starting from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
The foundation, I'm very grateful, was strong because it was that sense of a bigger call, a greater call, a sense of responsibility, not just for myself, but other, that kept me grounded while all else shattered. And the foundation, the illusions of safety, security, whatever, just shattered. But the beautiful thing is, I feel during this time, is that just like with a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, it is painful to go from 14 legs to 2 wings. At least I heard it, and to go from crawling to flying. And I feel this is that period of incredible transformation where people like us and so many others are saying, let's now join hands, let's join hearts and fly together into creating that future for ourselves and our kids.
Yeah.
I don't have kids, but I'm calling them our kids because they are.
Yeah.
And that's what I see you doing through your teaching. It's beyond the kitchen. It's the life lessons.
Yes. Yeah. And it's interesting because, I've always been interested in food and, like, very natural in terms of my health, just non-toxic, body products, and just more conscious, not like totally over the top, but always just more conscious of what I was putting in my body or what I was putting on my body. And my first wake up call really was COVID, right? Because we've talked in great lengths about our experiences in the past, but I think that was the first time I realized maybe the powers that be don't necessarily have our best interests at heart, because there was just such a push. There was such a push and such divisive language from government and all of these corporations, and you know, we all lived through it. I don't need to go over it, but it just was a red flag for me. It was like, something doesn't feel right here. And again, that's the intuition, right? Something that doesn't feel right. Then so of course I go in and I lose my job. I start my own business. I'm working with kids. I'm teaching them how to cook for themselves and be self-sufficient. And it's all great. So then about 2 months ago, I went with a friend of mine. Her daughter was having a surgery. And I went with her to the hospital to support her during the day so that she wasn't sitting there by herself, a group of friends. And she took us up to this room in the hospital here in my hometown. And it's supposed to be a room where inpatient families can go and sit and they can eat. There's a kitchen. You can, you know, use the stove. You could use the microwave. You could put your stuff in the fridge. And we walked into this room just waiting. And she's like, oh, they got snacks up there. Let's go see. So we go in, and like on the counter was cookies and cupcakes from the grocery store. And it was for St. Patrick's Day because it was around that time. So everything was like this bright green icing, you know, with, you know, the icing that doesn't wash off when you try to like wash it. Yeah. And then on the wall behind the counter was dispensers filled with sugar cereal, like Honey Nut Cheerios, Fruit Loops, Rice Krispies, Frosted Flakes. And it hit me like a smack across the face. I was just like, why are they serving this in a children's hospital where these kids are sick and they're supposed to be healing? And this is what they are serving, an offering for free for these families. Like I don't know that my friend will ever know the service that she did inviting me to come with her that day, because I haven't even told her yet. But that to me was like as big as COVID, where I went, holy cow, not only do they not have our best interest in mind, but they're actually physically making us sicker while we're there trying to get better by what they're feeding us. And so that has sparked a whole new path of helping to educate parents about what is actually in the foods that we buy, the food that you have control over, because maybe when you're in a hospital, you don't have as much control, but we can like maybe try to avoid getting to the point where we're having to be in a hospital, and by the choices that we're making on a day-to-day basis. And so teaching them how to make things at home, why you don't maybe want to buy the stuff that's coming from the store because of what's in it, and educating about what those things are and what they do in your body, and then how you can make those things at home yourself with very little time. And I think we've just been sold a story that, and I remember my dad saying, growing up, he would talk about something, I don't know, like maybe it was like those rotisserie chickens in the grocery store. I can't remember, like the ones that are already cooked, or it was like frozen pizza or something. I can't remember. And he would say, I got this for $3.99. You can't make this from scratch for $3.99. And I was like, wow, you're right. And then now I'm hearing him say that in my mind, and I'm like, yeah, there's a reason why they're making it cheaper for you to buy pre-made, you know, so that you you can read between them.
Absolutely. You know what? As you're saying that, you see right there, this is my mom's pasta maker.
Yes, I have one.
Everything from scratch, you know, and you're right. I'm so glad you're bringing this up about your work with parents, because that has been something, you know, part of me, just the capacity building. And you know, I always would say to parents when they'd say things like, you know, Annalise, Mrs. Crystal Armis, we're going to go on vacation for a month. We're going to be, you know, visiting relatives in Europe or whatever it was. And I'd be like, oh, you know, but it's during the school year. And I would have real conversations like, this is education. What you're doing, these life experiences are valuable. You are your child's first and most important teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've seen is that parents have handed over that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it has come from, you know, what the pressures that have, the external pressures, but in the end, parents reclaim that. That is yours. That is the gift that you're given as a parent. It is a huge responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But, you know, as I think back to my greatest influences, they are my parents.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they still are. There are many influential teachers, absolutely, that have crossed my path and others. But it's that I feel that we've swung so far
Mm-hmm.
with just handing off everything now. Our kids, I'm going to say our,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that sense of I know best, it's gone. But I love what you're doing in this. I really admire, and I think that there's a need for it, for for us to get to parents and have these kinds of conversations too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's by design too, a little bit.
Yeah.
Here in Ontario, it wasn't that long ago where one of the ministers of something
Yeah.
made a comment publicly about how there are no parental rights.
Yes.
The rights stay with the child. And that's all suggestive wording
Yeah.
to make parents feel like they don't have any control over their children.
Exactly.
It's not true.
It's not true.
No.
And you know, if I could add here, as you're speaking, Holly, when I worked with immigrant parents, and the first kinds of workshops I did were rights and responsibilities of permanent residents, and parenting in Canada, schooling in Canada, and parents would say to me, I remember one in particular, we were strictly prohibited from entering the school. So there was that divide, right? So with a lot of our foreign born, they weren't involved, and we were trying to bridge, right? In our country, it is the child at the center, you know, with the parent, the school, the community, all working together with their best interest at heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I found this so like, but this isn't what's happening here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't have to continue.
Right. And I think that parents are, not all parents, but a lot of parents who woke up to things in the last 3 years are really starting to, you know, you're seeing more people pull their kids out of public school and homeschool or put them into alternative schools or pod schools or whatever. I think people who have started to wake up are really starting to question that because it all, yeah, there's a lot being taught in schools that, you know, is questionable.
Yes.
There's a lot of people they're being exposed to that you don't have any notice or say, oh, like, you know, it's, you know, I guess for me, it was during COVID where all of a sudden, because I had teens, you didn't need parental consent to get a vaccine. You could go and just, and like I worked in a school as an admin for 8 years, just an admin. We couldn't even give a child who was having a febrile seizure Tylenol or Advil in the moment of an emergency without written permission from the parent ahead of time. Because we did have that case once where there was an issue, and I asked public health about that the next time they visited, and they said you would have to call 911 and they will direct you as to what to do, but no, you're not allowed to give them any medication to bring the fever down, even if it's an emergency situation, without parental consent in writing ahead of time. So we went from that to your child at 10, 11, 12 years old can go and take a vaccine without your permission or your knowledge. That didn't make sense to me.
No.
And that's, again, where I really feel strongly that parents need to like start to pay attention to who they're exposing their kids to, and really get strong in what your values are as a family. And if that's
Absolutely.
okay with you, then that's okay with you. But
Yes.
if it's not, then you need to really reel your kids in and figure out, you know, what you want to talk to them about ahead of time.
Absolutely. Holly, I 100% agree with you. And I'm not saying this.
I
What's
used
that?
to say to my son during COVID, he would walk out the door to go to school, and I would say, "Hey, Sawyer," and he'd say, "Yeah," and I'd say, "Say no to drugs." Right? Say no to drugs. And he's
Yeah.
like, "I got it, Mom."
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we didn't know if they were going to show up at the school and try to influence them in
Totally.
different ways. Yeah.
Totally. And for it, that, you handed as I was a principal, you trusted me to have your child's best interest at heart always.
Mm-hmm.
These little ones who were barely out of the womb, coming into JK and having taught JK to 8, those years are so precious. And those early years, there's this enamor with the teachers and this place and this purity too, this innocence, and we're holding your most sacred, I don't want to say possessions because they're not, but you know what I mean? And I take that I took it very seriously at that time. And like you're saying, parents pay attention. And one thing that through this time of work in going inwards, Holly, and a spiritual path has been my thing for all my life, really. And I did my master's in education looking at spirituality, but that's aside. During this time, I needed other ways to question these thoughts I was having, not about, to do this or not. It was more like, I don't belong here. And the method that I use that any parent could use when they're wondering about, like, I must have my kid vaccinated, like, says who? So it's a question like, says who?
Mm-hmm.
Who's telling me this? Is this a fact? Is someone outside telling me? And if so, do I like feeling like I have to put this into my child or agree to it? Does it make me feel better? No. Does it work for me?
Mm-hmm.
Asking these questions from a place of compassion, of non-judgment, of just like where's this coming from?
Mm-hmm.
How is it making me feel? Is it consuming me, having this pressure, right? Which, of course, everyone's nervous systems were totally shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're in that fight or flight, so you're not making rational decisions. And if you're realizing that, you know what, this is consuming me, I don't like it, it doesn't work for me, it doesn't make me feel good as a parent, or whatever it is, then okay, so what am I going to do about it? Am I going to hold on to it? Am I going to let it go? And letting go now is where I feel there are some parents where there's this bridge. What are you going to replace it with?
Mm-hmm.
I have my child's best interest at heart always. Like replacing that I'm at the mercy of these systems. I must comply or else. Like, no.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a country where threat, bribe, coercion are not acceptable. They weren't then, and they're not now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're not now, and if we can reclaim that as individuals,
Mm-hmm.
whatever role we're in, that's where the ripple is. And that's what we're teaching our kids and the generations to come.
Yeah. Yeah.
You write about it, right, Holly? You're an author, and I feel writing about this very thing was cathartic for you, perhaps?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, validating when everybody in life is telling you you're wrong.
Yeah.
You're wrong. Message over and over again. Every 2 weeks, I would have a meeting with my employer, and he would just tell me, well, what are you thinking? And then he would listen to what I had to say, and then he would just continue to rip it apart with his stats and his data, and tell me I was wrong. Like, you're just wrong. So, and then of course, I mean, even after I was let go, we had a conversation over the phone about something, and he said the words, you know, none of us, we still don't agree with your decision.
Yeah.
And it was like months after I had been let go, and it was still that jab of, you're not one of us. You don't belong here. We made the right decision. So then to have somebody say, you know, actually your story is valid, and you know, it could help other people, and we're going to put it in writing so that it's forever there, was, you know, was great.
Yeah. Yes. And Holly, I feel your words. I really do. I spent a lot of time on Tunnel too, my friend here, bringing this feeling like I don't belong here. Like how can I continue here? You know?
Yeah, but where do you
Pardon?
go?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, this is it, exactly. And I was in an interesting situation in my home too. So it was, again, returning to that place of inner peace. No one can give us the freedom we seek. No external validation. This is what was revealed. It doesn't matter what anyone says. It didn't matter. You know, if they finally said, I agree with you or whatever, well, I'm sorry. It doesn't even matter, because holding on to the fear, the resentment that I was having, the bitterness, like, what the, all these years, what's that? You know, I couldn't, I didn't want to, because that energy that we talked about at the beginning, that I know that you have too, it was held prisoner. And I was the only one that could unlock it by taking control of the one thing I could, my thoughts, and connecting thoughts, hearts in that flow.
Yes.
And then the rest matters, but it doesn't take me down like it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I found when it got physical, like when I physically couldn't move, that's when I was like, okay, I really need to do the work around this, and figure out how to let this go, because I don't even want an apology, you know.
No.
I mean, I worked with kids for years, I still do, but I would never say to kids, you know, you need to say sorry to so-and-so, because I always felt that was just words.
Yeah.
You know, you don't, it doesn't necessarily mean anything when you tell a child, like, say sorry to so-and-so. They're like, sorry. You know, they don't mean it. So what I would teach them is ask them if they need anything. You know, can I get you a Kleenex? Do you need a Band-Aid? Like, you know, like, offer some sort of support to them instead of just saying sorry. Show them that you're sorry by offering them some support. So that's sort of, I guess, where I'm like, I don't want an apology. I really don't want an apology, because I don't feel like people are really sorry. But I think one of the biggest traumas that is still ongoing, that people are working through, is the fact that the world is moving forward and acting like nothing happened. And that's like a whole new trauma in itself, right? I go to my school to pick up my daughter, and I have small talk with the person who terminated me like nothing's ever happened. So it's like super awkward, because in your heart you're going like, do you know, I don't want to say you destroyed my life, because it put me, I believe everything happens for a reason, and it puts me on a different path, and I'm super grateful for the path I'm on. I would not be sitting here at 10:30 on a Thursday morning talking to you. I would be at my desk at work dealing with problems. So I'm so grateful for where I am. But you know, even with friends, I have friends that we were very close. I would consider them best friends, and nothing was ever said, but the relationship's not there anymore. There's no more invitations for dinner. There's no more, let's get together and do this. Let's go for a walk. Let's, like, it's not, there's just nothing there. It's just superficial relationship now. And so
Yes.
it's like mourning this death of a relationship, but like nothing ever really ended it,
Yeah.
but it did. It's just these bizarre nuances that you have to work through that you didn't anticipate.
Yeah.
Um, that's
Yes.
that's hard, and it's
You
just
know,
like it just resurfaces. You know, it's not a linear path. I guess that's what I've learned. It's really not a linear path. It's you have really great weeks where things are great and you're just moving forward, and then you have something like that just takes you down like a pile of bricks, and it takes you a little bit to get back out of it, you know.
yes, Holly, I'm so glad you brought this up, Holly, because I just want to share with you, like during this time too, my dad had Parkinson's in his decline, and he died not of COVID, my grandmother and my aunt, all within 4 months in 2021, while these mandates were coming down and everything was going on. And I was doing some work with in grief and loss, and it's through when I was no longer in my work, I went to school to become like a life coach. And that journey led me to, and my research in bringing my mom out west led me to Caregivers Alberta as well. And so through Caregivers Alberta, and I was, and concurrently grief and loss work for myself and clients who at the time were having family members who were palliative, I really realized how the living losses were being expressed,
Mm-hmm.
but not spoken about.
Mm-hmm.
So loss of trust in systems,
Mm-hmm.
huge, beyond an existential crisis. I think Robert Malone called it like ontological crisis, where your loss of trust in these structures,
Mm-hmm.
loss of relationships. These are living losses
Mm-hmm.
for for me and people like you who are people, and we get back and forth that those losses of that energy exchange, huge. And so what I also learned, my model of this process of grief is that it's not linear, like you say. You don't go through stages, denial and all of that. You actually think it's Tonkin. His model is that these losses are like the center of a donut. Okay? And whether they're living losses or they're death, whatever it is, they're at the center. And what we learn over time is that we build our life around, but those losses are still there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when I saw you, I heard you speak, and others, this is how, for me, I was finally also finding ways to build around, because those losses were raw, they were hard, they were heartbreaking, but they were, in essence, they cracked me open
Mm-hmm.
to other possibilities. But I'm not going to say it's easy.
No.
It's not. We know it's not. But I believe that it's possible. And it's not a matter, people who think, get over it. Now I'm able to just not take it personally, because I was taking everything. Like, then I'd have to prove, like,
Yeah.
but no more proving. No
No.
more proving.
No.
And
That's so 2022.
yes, yes,
We're done with
exactly.
that.
Yeah, we're done with that.
Yeah.
We're done with that. And that's where that was a survival time, like proof. Like, no.
No.
And so this is where I'm back, like, I'm in a unique situation too, and I can't not be me anymore. I'm going to be me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it crushes your soul to not be, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I have a vivid memory of sitting at my desk in my office during the craziness,
Yeah.
and feeling like I listening to conversations going on around my desk with other staff members, and feeling like I wanted to shrink into
Yeah.
the corner. And I
Mm.
just like, how can I just like melt myself down right now so nobody can see that I'm here and I don't have to deal with this, because I just wanted to like fade away. Because,
Yeah.
and now I realize that was like, I could not be myself.
Yeah.
I could not be myself. Like even the things I thought, the way I ate, the way I took care of my body, like was not made fun of, but there was like kind of comments made here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would quietly hide those things. You know, I wouldn't tell people,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I make that from scratch, or I was slowly like just quieting like what I was interested in, what music I listened
Yeah.
to, oh, that I meditated. Like I wouldn't tell
Yeah.
anybody that because I'd look like the crazy person.
Yeah.
You know, all of these things that just dim your light.
Yes.
And so it almost felt like the universe was saying, you weren't going to leave on your own. It
Exactly.
wasn't the right place for you anymore. You know, it was crushing your soul and who you were. So we made the decision for you that, you know, we put this in place because you weren't going to leave. So,
Yeah.
you know, you had to. It
Yeah.
came down to like either choosing myself or going along with something that somebody was asking me to do that I didn't want to do. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought in my mind at the time, if I go and take this because I'm being asked to, how am I going to feel when I come back to work after it's done? How will people treat me when I come back to work and it's done? And I thought, they won't really care. They'll just be
Mm-hmm.
happy I ticked the box and submitted
Mm-hmm.
the forms, and they can
Mm-hmm.
tell everybody else that it's done, but they won't really care anymore about me. They're really not, they're still going to treat me like I'm a little bit crazy. You know, like, and that's when I realized, you know, this is why I just cannot not be true to myself.
Yes.
Because
Beautiful. Beautiful. And that's it. Like, I think I hear my dad's words, you know, go to bed with a clear conscience. Do good and forget it. Go to bed with a clear conscience. Never give up on anyone or anything you believe in. Just simple, 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 simple. And that's why live true, live free, change begins with me is my little mantra, my whatever we want to call it, because I wanted to be the change in the world I wish to see, but it was so difficult during those times. And turning in, the change for me was I went from like, fuck you, 2022 to thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. What
And
a
that
gift it was. Yeah. Could you
really,
imagine, like, if that hadn't have happened,
yeah,
we wouldn't know each other.
no,
I remember being in that room at that conference thinking, I've never felt more loved by these people who don't even know me. Like,
yeah,
I had to speak on stage and people would say, are you
yeah,
nervous? And I'd say, no. Like, this is like the least judgmental audience I could have
yeah,
ever asked to put myself in front of and share my story and be very raw and candid about what happened in my life.
yeah,
And that none of that would have happened if those people hadn't have had the same experience that I had had.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And this is where this, for me, soul to soul connections are so important. And I've experienced them through my life in various ways. I know that that's where the power is first with being able to just put down what we're carrying, you know, look, turn inwards and be willing to then step out and be part of this collective healing. And simply, you know, Parker J. Palmer, an American educator, activist, I researched him quite a bit when I was doing my MEd, and he talks about the human spirit does not want to be fixed or saved. It wants to be seen, heard, witnessed exactly as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we had in that gathering, people who were witnessing, holding space, companioning. There's such power there.
Yeah.
And that's the ripple, I think, Holly, this path of entrepreneurship is not easy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the message that you're getting out is not simply you're selling a product, it's integrated with who you are.
Right. Right.
and what's been placed on your heart.
Yeah, and those experiences that I had are what brought me to who I am now, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So beautiful. I mean, hard, but when we can step back and say, wow, pretty incredible,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to be able to stand in that place and know that we are protected, that it feels like a heart massage for me. You know, the walls of my heart, it was a fortress, and it, you know, soothing that heart through this exchange of energy simply by holding sacred space is
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And as you move forward now with, you know, the types of offerings and what you're bringing to families, to parents, to children, to parents, to families, to community, is really beautiful. I'm really mindful. I don't want to, I know you've got things on the go and we've got a beautiful audience here. Thank you for everyone who's still here, who's joined us. These are the kinds of conversations that we need to be having for the health of us as individuals and our society.
Mm-hmm. And it's so important what you're doing, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm following my heart, Holly,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I've always done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And then when I couldn't, that's when the boxing gloves came up and the
Yes.
wall.
Yeah.
But I had to see things differently. Do you see? And I wanted to, not even I had to, I actually wanted to. I'm like, no, no, no,
I don't want to do this anymore.
no.
Yeah.
It's done. I'm not done. I'm not done.
Mm-hmm.
We're not done.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, you know, my path, I'm open to possibilities and where things are going. And like I said, these kinds of conversations for anyone who's listening and has a mission, you know, wants to experiment with sharing. I've never done these like Instagram lives or just like me being in a classroom or speaking with a group of parents or whatever, whoever it is.
Yeah.
It's very natural feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So I will put this also on a YouTube channel that I started. But if anyone is interested in holding space, being part of these conversations, please connect with me.
Yeah.
You know, and Holly, the work that you're doing, would you just give us a snapshot of the programs that you're offering?
Oh, so I have an online program for kids so that no matter where they are in the world, they can log in
Yeah.
and learn with us. So it's a monthly membership for families. So it's one price for the whole family, no matter how many kids you have involved. And we meet twice a month over Zoom to do a live cooking class, one during the week and once on the weekend. But then inside the membership, there are lots and lots of pre-recorded, professionally videoed and edited lessons that walk you through all different recipes. So from the youngest children just starting out, no bake, no heat recipes, and then they progress all the way through to like full meals for older children that want to create something on their own. They can download the recipe and the tool list and get ready, you know, all on their own, get their ingredients together. And yeah, it's focused on building independence with the kids so that they can eventually take part fully on their own, you know, and then hopefully eventually they don't even need the membership. They'd be like, I can like go in a book and look for a recipe and figure this out on my own. But I walk them through the whole thing step by step. Some of the lessons have kids with me filming, some are just me. Yeah, we do special things for the holidays, special challenges, you know, for different things. Trying something different coming up in June. We're going to do one of our lives on Father's Day early in the morning so they can cook breakfast for their dads. So we're going to try that this year.
I love that, Holly.
So so we're going to, you know, lots of things coming up, but that's sort of the online membership so that kids from all over can take part in. And the focus is on obviously healthy from scratch. So teaching kids how they can make bread from scratch and what's in the grocery store bread that you buy and why would you want to make it at home, and just like the empowerment of like creating these foods on their own that like even a lot of adults don't know how to make their own bread, right? And it's so easy.
Yes.
So yeah, so doing those things. I'm also working on some resources for parents that will be available in the coming months, you know, in terms of like, what do you need in your kitchen? Setting it up for kids so that they can help you. And also, you know, setting it up for yourself in terms of ingredients and, you know, cutting out processed foods and stocking it with staples that you're going to be able to use to create these new meals, things like that. And then if you live locally to me right now, I also have some in-person classes and I have camps that I run during the school year, you know, on the school breaks and things like that. But they can find me at Nourish Cooking Co on Instagram and on Facebook. My website is www.nourishcookingcompany.com, but the website is exclusively my membership. So if you're looking for local information, it's all on social media.
Right.
Yeah.
Your website is beautiful. I mean, it all is. I've been following you, Holly, and your journey.
Thank you.
Oh, Holly, I'm so excited with these offerings with the Father's Day. Amazing. And this, I know that, you know, when I was looking over your beautiful, you know, the information you've provided for parents, you know, you've told them, you know, if you're a parent who doesn't really know how to cook, or perhaps you do, but are looking for an easy to follow framework that will eventually allow your children to work independent from you, this membership is for you.
Yeah, a lot of parents say, oh, I don't know how to, I have a little boy in my class last night, and he says, my mom is a terrible cook.
Yeah.
And there was another parent in the room. His parent wasn't there, but there was another parent in the room, and she kind of looked at me like, oh, and I said, it's okay. She admits it. Like, he's not saying anything she hasn't said herself. But that's why she said she puts him in class, because she wants him to learn, because she didn't learn. And so she's learning through him. You know, yeah. So that's the beauty. A lot of people say, well, do you have classes for adults? Like, I don't specifically have adult classes right now, but the way the membership is designed, it's not very juvenile in nature. It's not like I'm all animated and I'm all dressed up in costumes and like, you know, it's just me being real with the kids. So, you know, adults could follow along very easily as well and feel like, you know, not feel like they're in a kids membership. So
yes. You know what, Holly, I want to really springboard from that, because when you were talking on your website, as I was reading, this connection, the intergenerational, the connection, the family involvement, I think is key. We've lost a lot of that. And that's so beautiful what you're doing, the way you've set this up, so that parents and children are side by side engaging in conversation and problem solving and contributing to something then that they will share.
Or even
beautiful.
Even grandparents, you know, they're at the grandparents' house for the weekend, and the grandparents are like, what are we going to do with them? Well, they can just like log into their membership and pick a recipe and do it together, right? Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Holly. What a beautiful community that you're building there. And these life skills, these are the skills that we want to be teaching our kids.
Yeah. For
parents who are out there listening. Right? Yeah. This is the way we empower our kids to be healthy, productive, self-reliant, inquisitive problem solvers.
Yeah, teaching them about where the food comes from so that they can make better decisions on where to purchase their food. Right now, it's mom and dad buying it, but as they grow up, you know, my mom never went to the farmer's market growing up. You know, her mom probably did, but we didn't, because this was the time of dual income, two working parents. Things were going like this. Everything was speeding up, which again, I think was all by design to make people super busy, not focused on family and home. And I think it's about reclaiming the slowness of life, right? And again, that gift was given to me when I lost my job, because
Yeah.
I went from being this mom that yelled at my kids to get out the door on time because I had to get to work, to not having anywhere to go, and being able to
Yeah.
walk my daughter to school and come home and have my coffee and
Yeah.
okay, plan my day. What am I going to
Yeah.
do? And almost every day now, at some point during the day, I think to myself, did it this morning, I think, I love my life. I love
Yeah.
my life. Because there's just so much more balance, and not even just for me, but that, like you said, that ripples effects down into my family, into my kids.
Yeah.
My son calling at 12:30 saying, I missed the city bus. Can you give me a ride? Yeah, I can come. I couldn't do that if I was not working from home,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
it's just amazing, the gifts that have come out of it. But I think for a lot of us during COVID, we thought the whole world would start to slow down. Like, why are
Yeah.
we going full tilt? Why are we working 5 days a week and we have 2 days with our family? And I thought for sure the world was going to adjust and go, yeah, why are we doing that? Like, let's all agree to just go to a 4-day work week. Or
Yeah.
that didn't happen,
Yeah.
And so it's like, we need to do that for ourselves. You need to reclaim your life. And we did that with my husband. He decided to go down to 4 days a week working this year.
Yeah.
And so we took a pay cut, and it was funny that the perspective from his employees, the other fellow employees, would say, oh, but isn't that going to affect your pension? And doesn't that affect how are you going to do that? Isn't it going to affect your paycheck? And he's like, yeah, but
Yeah.
you're
Exactly.
only working to retire. What's the point in that? So
Yeah.
yeah, so that whole teaching kids to slow down and just enjoy it instead of being a means to an end, right? I think parents
Totally.
do. They get nervous about cooking with their kids because it's a mess and it's going to be so slow and it's all of these things, instead of just like throwing out the expectation and just enjoying the experience in the moment,
Absolutely. Throwing out the expectation, enjoy the experience in the moment, because this is what we have. We have these present moments. And we're so future focused, what we're going to have when we retire, and pension and benefits and that vacation home, we're missing out in these precious moments. That is a beautiful segue, Holly, as I think of my mom and now my relationship with my mom, and me as an adult stepping into the caregiving role and being able to advocate for what are these essential components of dignity, of compassion, of healthy living, no matter what age or stage someone is, that I know were planted in me and cultivated through my life, and is allowing me as an adult to say, this is what now I can try to do for my parent, or how I can companion them. Do you know what I mean? Because that was provided for me as a child growing up.
Yes.
So these life lessons are ones that, they extend far beyond the kitchen, far beyond. And I'm going to make sure that I include all of the links, Holly, so that people can find you, follow you, join this movement. Join this movement. We don't need to stay in the dark. We don't need to stay stuck. We definitely don't need to stay on that treadmill running full speed. It's time to reset, reclaim, so we can re-energize and move forward into the light. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Holly, thank you so much
this
for
was
joining.
great. Yeah, so good.
I'm so honored, so blessed, so grateful for your presence. And Holly, I posted one last little piece here. When I posted a quote, I think it was yesterday, by Dr. Wayne Dyer. And he says, this is to you and others. What is clear to me today is that I must ignore the opinions and advice of others when they interfere with my own inner knowing. It is enough for me to know I have a song, and by God, I'm going to sing it.
I love him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And that's what you're doing, sparking possibilities for others too, as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Holly.
Amazing. Thank you for having me.
Oh, have a beautiful, blessed day.
Yeah.
If anyone is looking for snow, come on,
Go to
join us.
Alberta. If you're looking for gray, cloudy skies, come to Ontario.
Until next time, and I look forward to keeping in touch and sending you so much love, prayers as you walk into the light, hand in hand with all those you're bringing along with you, Holly. And I'm one of those people, hand in hand, soul sister.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we'll see you
Thanks,
soon.
everyone.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Ciao. Thank you, everyone.